What's going on? I hope you're all having a wonderful evening. Another week, another big matchup for the Buffalo Bills, and that means another edition of the Saturday Night Tailgate Show. As usual, Mookie Hawkins from WUFO Sports Report. Mookie, how are you doing tonight, man?
I'm doing good, man. You know, Bills is 2-0. Everybody, like I said earlier this week, Jimmy Hoffa even knew that, you know, the Bills was going to beat the Dolphins in the chance. But here we are with the big bad Rams from the West Coast. And, you know, they 2-0 too. You know, they previously in the Super Bowl not too long ago. So, you know, I guess this is, you know, a true test to start the season for the Bills. So I'm real excited. You know, we got them at the crib. So, you know, we got a great guy. We got my man Joe Curley here, all the way from the West Coast to give us the inside stuff. So we appreciate to have him on. I'm ready to roll, Clay.
Yeah, man. And then, of course, we got Mario Granata of #Sports. Mario, thank you for joining for the third consecutive week. This is becoming a regular trend, isn't it?
I'm just going to sip my tea, going 2 for 2 in bold predictions the last 2 weeks. So it's good to be back. I love coming on with you guys, talking with you, Mookie, and our special guest, Joe, tonight. We're going to have a lot of fun. We're going to break down a lot of things for you guys tonight. So hopefully you'll have a better idea of what's going to happen when these 2-0 teams meet and see what we'll see what unfolds.
And, of course, he's a sports reporter for the Ventura County Star and the USA Today Network, Joe Curley. Joe, thank you for joining us. It's still early over there on the West Coast. It's just mid-afternoon for you. How are you doing, man?
That's right. We're doing great out here. The sun is still out, and the kids are going to be in bed soon, and we can study up and prepare and get our rest for tomorrow. Obviously, huge game with both teams being 2-0. And, you know, so one of those two teams, which, you know, not too many people would have, you know, bet would be 3-0. One of them is going to be 3-0. And with this new playoff situation, that's 1 foot in the playoffs.
Right. Now, the last couple of guests that we've had on this show, I've asked them the same question. So I got to continue the trend. You know, and I kind of expect slightly a different answer from you because these guys were beat reporters for the AFC East. So they were reporters for, I believe, the Patriots and then the Dolphins these last 2 weeks, obviously. So I want to know over there on the West Coast, because given the change of the landscape for the Buffalo Bills, because over the last couple of years, ever since Brandon Beane and Sean McDermott took over this team, really just kind of the trajectory for the team has changed entirely. What do you know about the Bills, and what have you come to know them as, and what has your opinion changed really over the course of the last couple of seasons since those guys have been given the duties at the helm?
Well, you know, I think my opinion, you know, what I know about the Bills is probably a little bit different than what Rams fans know about the Bills, not seeing them, since 4 years ago when they came to the Coliseum and got a big win against a team that had a winning record in Jeff Fisher's first year at that point, really sent them kind of down the toilet in 2016, that dramatic win there at the Coliseum. And, you know, I think if you ask Rams fans, if you ask Southern California football fans what they think of the loss of the Buffalo Bills, I think, you know, obviously, you know, they think of the great history of the team. Rams fans are steeped, you know, these are, you know, football fans that go back a long time to when the Rams were here before they left. And so I'm sure there's a lot of, knowledge about what the Bills were. And then I think now, you know, certainly the identity 3,000 miles away is probably, you know, the fans. It's probably the Bills Mafia and, you know, everything that kind of entails. I think that's kind of, you know, what West Coast football fans would say. But certainly, you know, when you're 2-0 and, you know, you got a really solid defense and, you know, an exciting quarterback that's putting up points and, you know, Stephon Diggs, you know, that move's coming up big, you know, all of a sudden, you know, it's an exciting time. I think a lot of Rams fans are going to learn about what this Bills team means this week. Arguably, you know, I think we'll get into it. Arguably the best cornerback in football. Which team has the best cornerback in football? I think that's one of the big things we can talk about with this game. So, you know, I think, you know, in terms of West Coast football fans, I think maybe this game, you know, will be kind of a coming out for the Bills a little bit. But, you know, certainly the Bills, it's been a long road back, and I'm sure Bills fans are really excited about what this team can do. And again, you coming off the first 2 wins of the season, this is another step. Playing a team like, I think that right now, on paper, you've got the NFC West, which doesn't have a single loss outside the division. I think the only team that's got a loss is the Niners, and they lost to Arizona, right? And then in the AFC East, this would be one of the first wins for an AFC East team out of the division. So I think it's a really big game for both of those divisions as well. I mean, we just had that great game on Sunday Night Football between the defending champion of the AFC East and maybe the team favored to win this division now that the Niners have gotten banged up. Really big, really fun game, and if we get anywhere near the type of game that was tomorrow, I think people will be happy.
Now, Joe, let me ask you this, and before we really dive into the meat and potatoes of the show, I mean, right off the rip, I mean, you already said it. The time difference. Coming from the West Coast to here, the time that they're playing. Even with everything that's been going on with the the pandemic with COVID and stuff like that, how paramount is it? Will the time difference? Playing basically, 10 o'clock. You gotta get up at 10 a.m. They're gonna play a 1 p.m. Eastern game. How important would that play a factor, you think?
I mean, I'll say this: the Rams do not like it. The Rams talk about playing what they call 10 a.m. body clock games. You hear Les Snead talk about it often, and but then again, they were up 21-3 on the Eagles. Before Rams fans were out of their pajamas on last week. So, it's not something they would prefer to play the 4 o'clock game. They would prefer to play later. And again, they wouldn't be going out like they did today on a Saturday, under normal circumstances. But these aren't normal circumstances, and I think they'd probably take it considering those Bills fans aren't going to be in that stadium. I think, it's one of the really interesting things that, you want to look at, you want to see data as the season goes on is home field advantage still a thing? Normally, that building is one of the tougher places to go play in, especially when you get later in the season and whether the elements become an issue. So I think all in all, the Rams will take it playing, without fans, having to go out there early. When they showed last week, they can get up and do it. So there's no excuses. Maybe that was the Eagles not being ready, but, Rams sure played two good games so far. And I remember I was on a national show right before the season started, and they were asking me questions about starting 0-2 and 0-3. And I'm sure Bill, as much as a lot of people thought maybe this is finally the year for the Bills to get going in the AFC East, until they do it, I'm sure Bills reporters were getting that sort of question, how's this team going to start? So the fact that these are two of the 2-0 teams in the NFL is, these are two teams that are going places, and I think this is the best. This will be the best matchup for the best challenge for these two teams. The best team that they face so far. So we'll learn about these two teams. A lot about these two teams tomorrow.
Right. And before I let Mario chime in, I mean, that's my thing too, though. Like, the Bills have been in the playoffs 2 out of the past 3 years. Last year they went as far as 3-0. Like, why do the Bills always have these same questions when they're 2-0 when they get off the good starts, year after year after year. But people still bypass, the past 3 years the Bills has been in the playoffs, and they've been undefeated, to start the season off. So I mean, it's always revisited. I don't know if is it lack of respect or I mean, they just don't know no better at this point. I don't understand. I just think that, I guess, tomorrow will prove a lot of things, I guess. You know what I mean, Joe?
Yeah. I think, the Bills are beginning to scratch the surface a little bit, beginning to kind of break through it. When the Rams moved to LA, I remember, the St. Louis Rams hadn't been on TV nationally besides Thursday night in a long time. And, they brought us, I mean, I couldn't remember the last time I had seen a St. Louis Rams game live. And we had this press conference and they brought us in, and, I remember they had 7 or 8 guys for us, and I was trying to grow through and learn who these guys were, as somebody who watched the NFL religiously, and they had, the punter in there, and they're like, oh, they brought the punter. What is going on? But the more you learn, the more that, Los Angeles has embraced this team. But, I think the Bills are kind of in a similar spot where they haven't played a ton of Sunday Night Football, a ton of Monday Night Football. Maybe they're not a national team quite yet, but you start 3-0, you start to take the lead in the AFC East, put the Patriots on your hip, and you'll lead a division. Maybe that's the next step. Winning a playoff game obviously would help, but I don't have to, certainly as a franchise, certainly as in football history, the Bills, are significant place with significant franchise with a significant fan base. So I'm somebody who grew up and watched those 90s teams and, saw a lot of great football and so you don't have to preach to me about what the Bills are, but this team, I again, to prepare for this, I made sure I went back and watched the film, the first two games, and this is a really solid team that is, about to get it going.
It's a damn good answer, Joe.
They're solid. They are.
Now, these are two really talented football teams. You don't win those first two games of the season for no reason. I honestly, throughout the whole course of this game, the two big names on the Rams defense is Aaron Donald and Jalen Ramsey, who is the highest paid corner in football right now. Who do you think, personally, who do you think has an advantage with the matchup between Jalen Ramsey and Stephon Diggs? Because Stephon Diggs has looked borderline unguardable these last 2 weeks.
Well, I mean, I think one thing you have to look at is one of the things that popped off the film for me the first two games is some of these younger receivers that the Bills had, and you look, you're talking about White and Ramsey being able to take away the other team's best receiver, at least limit the other team's best receiver. I know Diggs is in the top 5 in the league in target share. Certainly has been doing big time work through the first couple games, but the Rams are an offense that Sean McVay will talk about Jared Goff as a point guard and distributing the ball and getting it to the right places. So it's not like Tre'Davious White could just take Robert Woods out of the game and that the Rams can kind of adjust. And the thing about it is when I started watching the games, rewatching the games, the Bills, I was watching, I was like, who are these other guys around Diggs? And certainly Diggs has had a huge impact the first two games of the year, but the two kids, I mean, Davis made that incredible catch last week, and McKenzie, I think they've got some other pieces around. Certainly John Brown, it's a huge difference from being a number 1 target to being a number 2. So, I think, if the top corners come up big and, mute the other team's best receiver, I think you're going to be in a position where, we'll learn a lot more about the rest of the offense. And I think, the Bills do have, I do like the newcomers, and certainly John Brown is somebody that a lot of people, value in this league.
Absolutely. Especially in fantasy.
Smokey, people love Smokey, but when Gabriel Davis made that diving catch last week,
right.
I was like, no way he caught that. And then you see the replay and you're like,
hell of a catch. Yeah, people just thought that the nose of the ball had to touch the ground. There's no way he dove, just gave his body up and just came out with that catch securely.
It's ridiculous to catch it, especially under the rules now where you can, replay everything and you're looking to see if the ball touches the ground. You got to have the arm under and everything. And he catches it in midair, gets his arm underneath it. So that was really impressive. And I had only seen the name. I didn't know much about him. So, I do think it is a big week for these other pieces. It's offensively because, with some of the guys that are banged up and, not having the other back and some of the injuries at tight end, the Rams are going to make these rookie receivers or these third and fourth pieces beat them.
What you think about that one, Mario?
What world? What world are we living in? Now listen to this. If you would have came to me at the beginning of the season, now I would have lost a lot of bets, and you would have told me Josh Allen will have twice the amount of passing touchdowns as Jared Goff. If you would have told me that the Rams would have more rushing yards than the Bills by week 3, if you would have told me that the Rams would have given up less pass yards than the Buffalo Bills defense by week 3, and that both of them would have been 2-0, I would have thought you were out of your mind. I would have absolutely thought that. And then I circle back to this. We look at the teams that both the Rams and the Bills have played. This is where I come from. That, okay, you get the Eagles and the Cowboys, and you have the Miami and the Jets. You look at, okay, if you get the Dolphins rebuilding, Jets rebuilding. You look at the Eagles and the Cowboys. Okay, they pretty much have something in place there that's. So you start to look at quality of. I don't mean to talk college football, but it is Saturday. But you start to want to talk about the quality of the wins that are going on with these two teams, and I just think that if you were to try to compare, a Gase or a Flores to a McVay, I think this game is going to be a lot better coached, and there's going to be more adjustments that the Rams would make that otherwise Miami and the Jets wouldn't make. How well can Buffalo counter those adjustments and adjust in game and do some of the things? Because I'll tell you what, the offense that they're going to face, that the Buffalo Bills are going to face in the Rams, is going to be completely different than what there's so much motion that the Rams use. They use, and you got Goff there who's been seasoned. And here's the other thing: Miami and the Jets, they don't really have a championship pedigree. Now the Rams have gone to the Super Bowl with some, a majority of this team that's there. So you look at that all being combined, this is going to be one of the very first tests of this Buffalo Bills team to see if they are the team that's going to be making that next step, not just to make the playoffs, Mookie, but to advance in the playoffs.
Right.
It's a great – I think this is a game that you're going to be able to study, and you get to see one of the best offensive play callers in football going up against, one of the better defensive play – one of the better defensive play callers in football. I think it's a great matchup from the coaches. It's a really good point. The Rams are coming off a game where I think Warren Sharp, I just heard him call Sean McVay's Eagles performance the best game plan or the best play calling performance of his young career so far. And so, when you're coming off that little dip last year, to show that, Wonder Boy still got a little bit. And, McDermott is a solid, they are a solid defense with, they're always prepared. They're going to have some challenges. The Rams are going to have some challenges to deal with defensively. And the Bills have pieces, like we said, one of the best corners in football, really solid front, not a ton of really, freight, edges to pick at, not a ton of, of weaknesses. So, I think, I think you're going to be able to hang on to this game film and look at the way these two coaches kind of prepared for each other. As the season progresses, we'll go back and watch this game.
You see, we're talking about how this Bills offense matches up with the Rams defense, I meant to say the Bills defense matches up with this Rams offense. And it's interesting to me because the one area I feel that the Bills are lacking and that the Miami Dolphins attacked last week is cornerback 2 opposite Tre'Davious White with Levi Wallace. And one of the best assets to the Rams offense that makes them so versatile and multidimensional is the guy they have opposite Robert Woods and Cooper Kupp. And now you have a guy like Van Jefferson in the middle. And I really like what they have for a receiving core. And what I'm getting to, do you think that Cooper Kupp will be a problem for Levi Wallace in this game? Do you think that that's going to be a mismatch that Sean McVay is going to circle with his red marker and exploit throughout the entirety of this game? And then the Bills, they might not have an answer for it. Because last week I felt like missing Tremaine Edmonds and Matt Milano in the middle last week really kind of affected their ability to have synergy with their coverage. And, having Terrell Dotson start his first game and having A.J. Klein out there, who's not an ideal athlete in that position. I think that had a lot to do with it. But I'm curious to hear your thoughts as to what you think that this Rams offense might do to try to attack Levi Wallace opposite Tre'Davious White.
Is that for me?
Yeah.
I think, like I said, with, the philosophy of this offense being the quarterback as a point guard, I don't think they'll attack White. I think they'll try to pick at, that second that second corner. I don't necessarily think White will match up against Wood. I mean, I think Woods. I think it's an option, and the Rams will just go wherever the defensive game plan kind of takes them. The thing that stuck out to me in that Dolphins game last week is who ate for the Dolphins. The tight end really was the problem. The tight end was the player that kept Miami in the game, and Higbee. Tyler Higbee is coming off a career month to end last season in the biggest game of his life last week. And I've been pretty critical of Tyler Higbee throughout the early part of his Rams career, but it's you look at that production, and you look at he's not exactly the same type of tight end. Gesicki's a little slower but more athletic. Higbee's kind of a quick, but he's not going to get up and make the plays that Gesicki makes in the red zone. So, I think that maybe, tomorrow might be a Higbee game from a Rams perspective. It's certainly going to be whichever receiver, White is not looking at. But, that's the thing that the Rams' strength is their receiving core. They went out, they completely turned over a defense. We could go through all the anything you want to know about the Rams' defense's turnover in the offseason we could get into. You probably don't want to hear that too much about it. But they went out and they drafted their first two picks. The strength of the team's an offensive team. They got an offensive coach. They went out and added another running back and added another receiver with their first two picks in the middle of, they're ripping up their defense and starting anew with a new coordinator. So that tells you what you need to know about this Rams team. It's an offensive team. They eat with the receivers. Everything goes through, what they do offensively. They want to put up points. And, I think they're still going to be in transition all year defensively. So, we'll see, what happens, going forward. But, they're not going to worry. They're going to go away from Tre'Davious White, try to find a weakness and exploit it. And it certainly will look last week like it was the tight end.
Well, we know why it was the tight end. No Tremaine Edmonds and no Matt Milano. That really showed, all the Bills fans basically how valuable those two guys are. And it really exposed Levi Wallace on how valuable those two guys are. But nevertheless, they had to set out precautionary measures. They'll be ready to roll tomorrow. So, that interior be good. But the still question, Clayton still remains number 2 cornerback and Teron Johnson, because Robert Woods is a very, very crafty guy. I mean, to me, we had 2 number 1s when we had him and Sammy Watkins, at one point, here at One Bills Drive. And, you don't be the leading receiver at USC for nothing, by the way. And, he's a very crafty guy. He can play inside and he can play outside. So another thing, he could be matched up against Teron Johnson, who is nursing a sore groin injury. So, I mean, it's a possibility we could see Saran Neal. But we're definitely going to have Milano and Edmonds back to take care of, whatever Higbee has to offer. So, number 2 and our slot corner, those will be the guys who get majority of the work tomorrow.
Mookie, smile, will you? You sound like a jaded ex with Robert Woods being in LA right now, man. Come on.
Oh,
No, listen.
They love Robert out here.
That's my guy.
No, believe me. Paul and I on hashtag sports, we've talked about it time and time again. As soon as Woods came out, just because of the physical nature of how he plays the game, we immediately drew comparisons from him and Hines Ward, just because his downfield block, he doesn't carry, he gets his nose dirty, he runs those reverses, he does a lot of little things well, and he's such a crisp route runner. That's what all those USC guys are. Like you just said, you don't become that on accident. So that being said, I think Trey White has more experience, has better games against receivers that are more physical than fast. And we got to remember this too: the trust in the defensive coordinator and defensive staff is this: they knew that they were going to be playing the Rams in Week 3, and they still IR'd Josh Norman. So they still either you have a plan on a contingency plan on a contingency plan. So if Wallace had that bad of a game and he was exposed a little bit, getting Milano and Edmonds back, I agree with you guys 100% that's going to help him. But they didn't do that move with Norman if they didn't think that Wallace could take on the firepower. And like with you guys, I'm a little worried about Kupp versus Wallace in that respect. But you got to think they're going to probably have a plan in there. And to back to the tight end point with Higbee, it could have been the Eagles' game plan to be like, listen, we have to take away everyone else and let the tight end beat us. If he beats us, he beats us. And unfortunately for them, he did. And so that becomes a concern for the Buffalo Bills, because I think between the Eagles and the Bills, just this minor philosophical approach is they like lining up man on man and beating you without doing anything too exotic. We know the Bills like to throw those little wrinkles in there, the Buffalo nickel and a bunch of different things. But I think to a man, they like lining up and saying, okay, you got to beat us, and we're not going to do anything really crazy and exotic like a Rex Ryan type defense. We're going to do stuff that we know works. We're going to play our coverages right, and this is what we're going to do. If you can beat us, you can beat us. But then we'll get to that point where we're going to have to go a little bit more exotic. But I can't wait for the matchup. I just can't wait for it. It's like Christmas Eve every Saturday now.
Oh yeah. But this one area, because we've really talked a lot about this Rams offense going against the Bills defense. I really want to pick Joe's brain about this Rams defense a little more, specifically what they're doing there in the middle of the field. Because you lost your star linebacker, Corey Littleton, in free agency this past offseason. And now you've got guys like Micah Kaiser and Troy Reeder kind of filling that stopgap in that position on the field. However, it seems to be the area in which, that Rams defense, they're not really getting the best production out of it. And that's really why because I like what the Rams have pieced together on the defensive side of the ball. Don't get me wrong. I like Leonard Floyd as a situational pass rusher, maybe not the situation where they have him playing now, where he's a starting linebacker, but maybe as a situational pass rusher. I love their secondary with Jalen Ramsey, Taylor Rapp, and then John Johnson III. But the main area of concern, in my opinion, for that Rams defense is what they're doing in the middle of the field. Now, what do you think? How do you think that's really going to impact what the Rams are able to do on the defensive side of the ball, given targets that the Bills have that can go across the middle of the field, like Stephon Diggs, like Cole Beasley, and they won't have Dawson Knox, so maybe you could say Tyler Kroft. But point is, the Bills have players that can really pick you apart in that area of the field, and I'm curious to know how you feel the Rams might stop that part of the Bills offense.
I mean, this is going to be a high-scoring game because the Rams offense is going to get their points, and this Rams defense is in Game 3 of a borderline rebuild. They added it. They moved on from Coach Phillips, from Wade Phillips. You guys know well. So they kind of took a step back. I thought they were one of, besides getting embarrassed by Baltimore and having a couple other, rough moments in big games, I thought they were one of the, more underrated defensive groups last year. So I thought they were a good defensive team last year. If they would have made the playoffs, if this new situation, the new system was in place last year. But, it really seemed like they took a step back to take two forward, with the new system and turned over a lot of veterans, and made some moves. So I think they're still kind of in, they've got the, arguably the best defender in football up front. They've got a really strong secondary. They've done a really good job with that. The linebacking core is, Micah Kaiser played his guts off last week, but really, I don't know if you're going to get that sort of production every week. I think this is a, potential, Devin Singletary can have a really nice game tomorrow. You look at the backs, the first two games, they really struggled against Elliott in the Dallas game. And they gave up, production on the ground, and from the running back position against the Eagles, even though the Eagles were chasing the game. So, there's going to be points in the field for the Bills as well. Certainly, the linebacking core I talked about the receiving core being the strength of this team. The linebacking core it's worse than a weakness. It is, they're doing everything they can. They went out and got guys off the waiver wire after cutdown day to try to shore up some depth and bring in people that knew the system. So, that is the spot that they're going to be trying to improve at every week. And, as the linebacking core improves, this defense will improve along with it. But, when you've got Aaron Donald up front, and you've got Jalen Ramsey and a bunch of really good secondary players, you can kind of paper over those cracks. But, linebacking is going to be a problem in stopping the run especially away from Donald, is going to be an issue.
I mean, this is really going to be a chess match because, I mean, starting early on, I mean, it is still early. And basically, this is still like, let's just say that it's a 12-game season, 13-week season. And these first 4 games is kind of like real preseason games. They just count, you know what I mean, on the schedule. And, you know, you're starting to get book on teams now. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Now you're starting to get a little bit familiar with what you see on tape against another opponent. So it's going to be really exciting to see how teams have adjusted, how teams, you know, move guys around to make plays according on what they see, you know, the Rams versus the last 2 opponents, you know, and that's what I kind of think. Like, I asked Coach Dabo about being, you know, balanced, and he said this is going to take time on a day-to-day, and I get that because you're not seeing too many 100-yard rushers, you know, right now in NFL. You seeing the passing without a doubt. I mean, we seeing passing at a high level right now. It's like what 8 or 9 quarterbacks that's throwing over 70%. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's record pace. Yeah,
passes. So, you know, once teams start getting book on where these guys are lining up at, then you're going to start seeing the run game flourish a little bit more. So that's why I say, you know, it's just that balance. And when, you know, either one of these 2 teams have balance, I mean, look out, because you're looking at 2 of the top 5 offenses right now in the NFL. So it's going to be real exciting to see what that brings to the table. But Joe, before I let you go and we get a prediction from you, just care to tell me a little bit about, you know, a lot of things that's not getting a lot of attention with rookie safety Jordan Fuller. How important is it for him to be out there, you know, with this veteran receiving trio what the Bills have to offer?
Yeah, you know, they really liked Rapp last year, and he had some, you know, it was his first year, high draft pick, and you know, he's been playing a bunch, but he gets banged up. He was hurt a little bit last year and banged up during training camp. And so Fuller, you know, made that big play in the Dallas game, and they came out after that game, and you know, everyone was surprised the rookie was playing, late round draft pick, and you know, he's really come out, and you know, we were asking you know, McVay about why he was playing, you know, what's wrong with Rapp, and Fuller, you know, deserved this playing time and won the playing time, injuries aside. So, you know, he's one of those guys where, you know, when you're paying Aaron Donald, you know, the biggest defensive contract, or at the time was the biggest defensive contract, when you know, you're you know, paying Jalen Ramsey, you know, the biggest contract for a corner, you need late round picks to step up and play, you know, value guys. You know, that's kind of the Rams are now, as some of you guys may play fantasy sports and know about stars and scrubs. Not that these other guys are scrubs, but, you know, value guys. You know, that's what kind of the Rams philosophy is. They're paying their stars. It's kind of LA, you know, they got their star names, and then you need to hit on, you know, some of these, you know, lower guys. You know, safety's a position where you can kind of get a quality player late in the draft. And man, have they hit on this Fuller kid. And there's other, you know, I really like Terrell Burgess, who hasn't been playing as much. He's a safety from Utah. You know, and that big, you know, this nickel spot, or you know, these other corners, you know, kind of a bigger safeties that, you know, enable them to, you know, play nickel all the time. You know, this is kind of part of this new defensive system that they're, you know, that they're playing with. So, you know, those are important players, and Fuller has been a, you know, if he keeps it up, he's going to, you know, take this spot over for a long time. We'll see. It's only been 2 weeks.
Yeah, and I had a good opportunity to sit down with Jordan Fuller. He actually have dinner with him down at the combine. His
there you
go. My nephew, my godson, excuse me, is Darnay Holmes. And, you know, they have the same agent, and, you know, we was down. You know,
I've known Darnay Holmes since he was a teenager. Yeah. I've known Darnay a long time.
Yeah.
Darnay was our defense. Oh, because he's a Bill. That's right.
Right.
Yeah.
His father played here, and I stayed with his father for like 3 years when he played here as a Bill. So, you know, I didn't, you know, see him, you know, being just him and Derek just running around the house babies, you know, and now just to see him living his gift in you know, in the NFL is awesome, man. So.
Dude, talk about nickel guys. Darnay, you know, Darnay's legit. We you know, I remember Darnay when he was a freshman and sophomore in high school. He was our defensive player of the year as a junior. So, yeah, he's going to be in the league a long time, that kid. Him and Fuller.
Yeah, absolutely. That's the pro way right there, man. Pro way training. Man.
Yeah, you know. Wow.
Giants got
Yeah.
a steal. Giants
It
got
is
a
the pro
definite
way.
steal right there in the fourth.
That's
You know,
right.
man. But
They do. They need some D-backs. He's going to play. He's good, you know.
I'm
a
glad.
playmaker.
I'm glad he's in the NFC.
Hey, you graduate from UCLA as a sophomore. Legit.
Tell me about it.
Anyway.
Tell me about it.
We could talk about Darnay Holmes all night. I appreciate you guys. Good luck tomorrow. Good luck in the NFC East or AFC East. And it's going to be, you know, being the leaders in the AFC East this year. It's going to be interesting keeping those Patriots on your hip. Good luck.
Yeah, Joe, thanks for coming up.
Yeah, thanks for coming on.
Thanks, Joe.
Hey, I can't let you go without getting a prediction, man.
Oh, I don't like to give predictions. You know, we'll say, you know, since I'm the Rams reporter, I'll pick the Rams 31-28. But a big day for Singletary, a big day on the ground for the Bills. And, you know, one thing, you know, and maybe, you know, Bobby Woods gets limited by Tre'Davious White. We'll say that. That'll be the win for Bills fans will be, you know, Robert Woods doesn't get his big return to Buffalo touchdown. How about that?
Yeah, some pretty bold predictions, Mario. What do you think?
Mario's the one with the bold prediction.
All right,
Yeah,
Joe,
they have been.
man.
Take it easy, Joe.
Thanks, guys. Good luck.
Fellas, this is going to be quite a game tomorrow. You know, I feel like in a sense last week we kind of saw Josh Allen have to take the game on his shoulders and be the leader with the defense not being able to sustain that high level of play that we've grown accustomed to. So Josh Allen had to take it in his hands and win that game last week. And now hopefully they'll have all their tools. Mookie, you said Edmonds and Milano will be good to go tomorrow. But so hopefully, ideally, they'll have all their tools at play tomorrow on the defensive side of the ball. So that it won't hopefully be the case like it was last week. But if it is, I don't think there's a doubt in my mind that this offense can get placed on Josh Allen's shoulders and the Bills offense will be in good hands. Because we've seen it happen so many times. We've seen him take the ball and just own the game, take control of the game and control the game. And I honestly, I'm going to say it right now, we'll talk about our predictions later, but I'm not really worried about this Rams team, to be honest with you. They got stars. That offense is gaudy. But Sean McDermott knows what he's doing on that side of the ball. Assistant head coach Leslie Frazier knows what he's doing on that side of the ball. And Sean McVay's never had success against Sean McDermott. He just never has. Never in this league. But hey, Sean McVay has evolved as a coach since his time with Washington, since he met up with Sean McDermott when they were both coordinators for rival teams. So this is going to be an interesting matchup. I'm really looking forward to tomorrow.
Yeah, this is going to be, a young chess match. You know, you look at, McDermott being 46 and then McVay, is in his late 30s as head coaches. This is, a perennial matchup that could be, a rivalry for years to come. Two young coaches. McDermott just signed himself an extension. I'm quite sure McVay is going to get that extension already. If he hasn't got it, he will get it. So we're looking at some of, young coaching at its best right now. I think Coach and his staff is doing a phenomenal job on getting these guys prepared, taking chances on, sitting their key guys in games and using their depth to, maintain, to go out there and maintain. So they're doing an excellent job. And we're going to see the extent of Milano's injury. I want to see the real extent of Milano's injury, because I know hamstrings is just like you never can tell with a hamstring. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
We understood Edmonds' injury, but he's not in the sling or anything like that. So I'm quite sure that he'll be a little bit more freer to roam around and make plays. Then I want to see how Milano is now. If both of those guys is kicking healthy, we shouldn't have to worry about anything up the middle. And it just really relies on the matchups, how they're going to isolate Teron Johnson on Robert Woods and Krupp, and, how they're going to play Levi Wallace, so we can get Josh Norman back next week, to see what Josh Norman can do, you know, with the rest of these guys in this new look defense. So, you know, this is the game of respect, I guess. You know what I mean? This is the respect game. It's at home, and you know, it's in our backyard. So, you know, the Bills gotta, you know, just be consistent. Just be consistent, and I do think that Motor is going to have a good game because he don't have to worry about splitting those carries with Zach. Not to say Zach is a beast, but you know, let's just see what Motor can do with the training wheels off finally. You know what I mean? It's no Gore. It's his show tomorrow in that backfield. So I'm really excited to see what Motor is going to do out there tomorrow as well, and the matchup that he possesses, you know, against their linebackers.
Right.
I mean, we talked about Motor last week, you know, against Miami. He only had 12 touches, but he accounted for 76 offensive yards. And, you hear this phrase all the time with running backs. He's a volume runner. He'll get better with the game. He'll get stronger with the game, and he'll just wear you down. And I still think that's the big part of Singletary's game. But I think the Bills' offense is playing the long game in that respect, as far as going with Moss as well. Even though they're not going to have Moss, is the fact is they think, to me, they view their running backs like they view their defensive line. They have to constantly rotate them in to keep them fresh, so that near the end of the game, when they need them to wear down the defense, if they have a lead, that's what something they can do. Or if they need them fresh to, you know, catch a pass out of the backfield, run inside the tackles, do all this other stuff. You know, that's the thing about this game that for me stands out the most, because usually when we watch Bills teams over the past, you know, throughout the drought, I would say it's like, okay, I'll turn the TV off when the Bills offense is on the field versus the defense, because I want to watch. Like on any other team, I would love to see a Frazier versus McVay chess match. And I love it. 22 pieces going at it. How are you going to move this guy, this piece there to get this and this and everything else like that? Now it's almost like Josh Allen and this offense is really must-see TV because of the things that he's been able to do in the first couple of games. Now, I understand that the Rams defense is going to be a completely different animal aside from that. So I think it's going to be very interesting to see, and I'm gonna have some low-hanging fruit for Clayton, because it's going to be the adjustments by Dable that is going to be crucial in this game. It's going to be very crucial in this game. Now, I will back up while he fires off. He's already adjusting his hat too, so this is not going to be good.
Yeah, you're right, Mario. You're right. If it's a game where we need to see Brian Dable make the best adjustments at halftime that we've seen in his career, it's this week. Because I can guarantee you that mastermind on the other sideline has at least 500 pages of notes of what he's going to do differently after the second half. So here's the thing about last week, because I wanted to talk to you guys about this, because we all shared this sentiment last week when I brought it up on the show. That third quarter offense again last week, it really wasn't there. But I didn't see it. But at the same time, they only possessed the ball twice, and one of those times they started the drive inside their own half-yard line.
Mm-hmm.
So I can understand why it was kind of lacking there. Not to mention Ryan Fitzpatrick was picking apart that defense and really kind of dictating what was going on with it through his offense rather than the Bills dictating it with theirs. So they didn't really have many opportunities to drive. I felt like that was Brian Dable's best coaching performance, coinciding with Josh Allen's best quarterbacking performance in the same week. And honestly, I need to see it again this week. I'm still waiting to see the third quarter adjustments that we've been longing for since he's taken over as the Bills offensive coordinator. Now, I'm giving him a pass from last week, and I'm not one that's known for giving Brian Dable passes. Well, he's not going to have a room for pass this week. If that Rams offense is going to come in there and kick that Bills defense in the teeth, then the Bills offense needs to be ready to do the same exact thing when they come on the field. And if they're not, it'll be apparent. And that Rams offense, they're not going to let off the throttle. So I think it's time we see Brian Dable in this offense be coached in that same exact way.
Yeah, but this is my thing. It's an even playing field. We got to stop looking at just because the Rams got Aaron Donald that we don't got Deion Dawkins. Like, these guys get paid to stop Aaron Donald. So, like, this is what I'm talking about. You got to bring ass to get ass. In this line of business, football, you got to bring ass to get ass, no matter what your name is at the end of the day. So, it's intriguing matchups all over the place. You got Ed Oliver, that's dealing with that interior that's pretty tough as well. Not to mention, what's going to go on in the trenches on both sides of the ball when it comes to that offensive line. And that's very key. Like you said, Mario, who would have thought that the Rams would be, just about leading the NFL in rushing? They average 170 yards on the ground. No Cam Akers, but you still have Brown, you still have Henderson. Brown's coming, nursing a sore thumb or a finger or whatever the case. So you have to, monitor that. But, they have those two guys that still holding shoulder and the load in that run game. And not to mention, what's in store in that pass game. We know that pass game is legit with the weapons they have. So it's balance on both sides. And to, once again, Mario, your point is going to break down to adjustments because you're looking at two great offensive minds. We know what Leslie Frazier is bringing to the table with this defense. We don't know too much about this new guy on, the Rams with the new shape defense that they're running. Like, it's a little exotic than Wade Phillips. I think they went from a 30 to a 40. I think they're on a 4-man front, but they like to have that rover back. So that's what I want to see, how they're going to play that their outside backer. So it's like you said, it's like Christmas once again. I can't wait for Sunday.
There's not a big book on him. And then if you think about it, it's almost like the Bills are going through the levels of Jumanji at this point. You know what I mean? Okay, they played the Jets, then they played Miami. Now they're playing because if you think about it, compare it by comparison. Okay, maybe the running backs. Okay, Le'Veon Bell I still hold him in a very high regard. But if you look at the wide receivers that they played each week, this can be the best wide receiver core that they played. You look at the quarterbacks they played. I think Goff is better than both Fitzpatrick and Darnold at this point. And here's the thing about Goff is that he's not a runner per se, but this guy, even if he gets off of his spot, he knows how to manipulate a pocket, which is going to be crucial for him and let his receivers get wide open. You talk about the offensive line. You talk about the defensive line. Now, everyone's Donald's name will come up, and I understand that. But you have to realize, even though these two guys are not on Donald's level, but you talk about Wilkins and you talk about Williams in the Jets in Miami. These are two former first-round picks for a reason that the Buffalo Bills have been able to kind of silence and keep and hold in check. So Aaron Donald's a different animal. I know that 110%. I haven't lost my mind yet. But the point is they have faced top-level competition. This offensive line has faced top-level competition already in 2 weeks in a row. And that's probably the most comparable thing that you can have because the receivers are far better for the Rams. The running game is going to be a lot better for the Rams. The offensive line, the cohesiveness, the communication that will go on along that line as far as the offense of the Rams will truly test Frazier. And I believe at 110% that Frazier will be up to the task to make any kind of adjustments he may need.
Mm-hmm. We talk about the levels of Jumanji, and that's kind of almost literal. Because you're right. Every opponent so far, it's just been, I wouldn't even say slightly better, but the Bills' opponents are getting a little more difficult as the season has gone on. And I don't mean that to disrespect the Miami Dolphins defense. Because let's not forget that defense held Cam Newton in the Patriots offense that everyone was flipping out about after week 1 to just, 19 points. And Cam Newton throwing the ball the least amount of any starting quarterback.
Well, Newton threw for $150. The next week against Seattle, he throws for 400. And then you saw what Miami did to Jacksonville on Thursday. Right. That should put in perspective how the Bills' offense and defense has played so far.
That Miami team, next year you're going to be talking about them potentially being a wild card team, in my opinion. So that's not a win that we can't just chuck. Oh, it's the Dolphins. I've heard that so much this week, and it's like, do people even pay attention to what that team is doing down in Florida? Has anyone paid attention to the pieces they have on that team? Kyle Van Noy used to single-handedly wreck games against the Bills for the New England Patriots. And then it goes to the Miami Dolphins, and Josh Allen just trucked them right over. That's a team that, like, the Bills played a really good game last week against the Dolphins. I wouldn't say both sides of the ball. The defense had its lapses, but they were missing 2 of their key components. So that's to be expected. But if it's anything that's solid on that Dolphins team, it is their defense. And yes, they were missing one of their starting cornerbacks, but they had a first-round cornerback out there covering Stephon Diggs, and Josh Allen picked on it all day long. And yes, you're going to see an uptick in the competitiveness of this Rams team, I think. But it's also a team where you have your mismatches to pick from. You have John Brown going up against Troy Hill opposite Stephon Diggs. And yes, they do have two solid safeties, but this is part of being up to the task. If you are a team that's truly able to compete in the National Football League with the upper echelon teams, with the Seattle Seahawks, hey, maybe even with the New England Patriots this year, with the Kansas City Chiefs, with the Baltimore Ravens, with those sorts of teams, this is a team not in your conference, but it is a team in the upper echelon of the league that you need to prove yourself against. And yes, you're not going to be in front of your fans, but you are in your home stadium. So I do give a slight advantage. Well, I wouldn't even say a slight advantage. I give the advantage to the Bills going into this game full bore, I think.
Yeah, but I just think if they put up 58 points this year, Clayton. If they put another donut up in the third quarter, I don't like the result of that game.
I don't either. And I think we all know what we're going to be saying if that ends up being the case. They'll come around 4 p.m. tomorrow.
Yep, absolutely, absolutely.
I've asked it, 2 Sundays in a row. I asked it. I mean, you can blame Mother Nature a little bit on Miami debacle, but still, I mean, come out how you started the game. If you get a rhythm and establish, some sort of continuity in 4 wide receiver set, come right back out of that. Just regain that, just to see what type of adjustments they've made. You gotta go back to your script. Like, if I'm that's me. As a coach, I'm coming out and see, okay, let's see what adjustments they made. I already have my play selection set for the second half that they haven't even seen already, but I want to see, have they made adjustments to this? Because I know how to counter that, like you were saying. So I want to see that, that way when I do go with it, I got this play right here that I know is going to work because they done made the adjustment and I have the answer for that adjustment. So, that's what I like to see. Give them the same thing that got you going. Your players are familiar with it. They'll know how to attack it the second time around based upon the coverage and the alignment. And, that's just football. Now it just boils down to making plays and coaching. So this is going to be, this could be like, this game should have been, easily, a Sunday night matchup or something like that. Just based upon the uncertainty of the matchup and how well these guys match up. So it's just, and this game is on the clock.
Well, I think before we start predicting scores and whatnot, we need to have some predictions that have a little something to them. And Mario, you've been waiting the whole 55 minutes and 34 seconds and counting to talk about bowl predictions. But you got anything this week?
I got two, and they kind of hinge off of each other, and they're both very pro Bills. They're both pro Bills. I'm drinking the Kool-Aid of this team, man. It's kind of hard not to. Usually I try to be very objective, but the bold predictions, I think it's like I have to raise the bar for myself every week to try to do something crazy. So I'll make two. I'll make two this week because I always got to cover myself. So the one bold prediction is I think that Higbee will have less than 50 yards receiving and less than 5 catches. He'll have 4 catches for like 40 something, but he won't be a significant factor in this game. I'm feeling. The other bold prediction is the Buffalo Bills will score 21 points in the third quarter this week.
In the third quarter?
In the third quarter alone. They will score 21.
That's pretty damn bold.
They will score 21 points. That's my and Buffalo Mafia News says on YouTube, he says, Mar, are you still getting thrown through a table? Yes, that's happening. But I'm saying is we're postponing it a week because both Paul and I have conflicts this week. So prior to the week 4 game, unfortunately, I'm going to be going through a table.
I heard about that.
Paul's hell bent on it. Yes, that's true.
I heard about that. I don't know. Wonder how can I involve, knives and stuff like that, but
we don't want to go there.
I don't want you to get,
this isn't Saw 4.
I don't want you to be a stunt double in a Final Destination.
I'm gonna look more like the Spike Dudley going through it. That's what it's gonna look like.
Yeah, I can't wait to see that one, man. I can't wait to see that one. You know what I mean? They had to wait till next week, you know what I mean, when the Bills is down in Vegas. So, you know, Viva lost fiery table for you right there.
Absolutely, no question. So I'm interested in Mookie's bold predictions for this week. You got anything outside of the box that just is just insane?
Bold prediction. I say Tyler Bass win the game. Game winning field goal.
Tyler Bet, nice.
Okay.
It's nice. It's a nice day out tomorrow. You know, it's a beautiful Sunday. You know, I think he's gonna boot a deep one too. It's not gonna be a chippy. It's gonna be what they drafted him for. You know, that big leg. I mean, I let's just say 50+ yard field goal to win the game tomorrow.
All right. Well, since Mario's doing 2, I'm one of the hosts of the show. I can't be outdone by a guest. I just can't.
Oh, okay.
So I gotta do 2. I gotta do 2. So the first one is Aaron Donald goes without a sack. I think this is honestly the biggest matchup that Bobby Johnson has had to prepare for as an offensive line coach for the Buffalo Bills. And it's also one of the biggest matchups that Brian Daboll's had to prepare for as an offensive coordinator. You can throw in a few hats into that, or a few names into that hat, like J.J. Watt and what have you, but I don't think any match the level of Aaron Donald. And I really feel like, yes, there's matchups to be had up front for Aaron Donald to pick on, such as maybe Cody Ford, Brian Winters. Mitch Morse could have a hard time with him, maybe, but I don't think he comes away with this game or from this game with a sack. I just don't. I don't think it happens. And my next is the Rams offense will be held to under 100 rushing yards. I think with Milano and Edmonds coming back, they're going to have that synergy with the defense. They're also going to have that full defensive line up front. You're going to have Vernon Butler. They could activate 9 defensive linemen this week like they did last week, and it could bode well for them given the how they choose or how the Rams run their offense and like to play off of play action a lot. And I think that the best scenario for this defense is to get pressure on Goff consistently, because that's when you're going to force him into making some errors and have opportunities for your defense to make plays. So yeah, not 100 rushing yards for the Rams offense and no sacks for Aaron Donald. And I think that kind of coincides with how I feel. And I feel like the Bills are going to win this game. So I think we should, Mookie, do you think the Bills are going to win this by 3? What do you think the final score is?
I don't know. Since everybody giving out 2 bold ones, let me get another bold one in.
All right, here we go.
Let's just say our guy Cole Beasley goes off tomorrow. Cole Beasley goes off over 125 yards.
Ooh.
Even tomorrow.
Ooh.
The forgotten guy, you know what I mean? You know, John Brown has been stellar. I mean, we already know what Diggs is doing. No Dawson Knox. That means the forgotten man to get going this week will be Cole Beasley. So, Cole Beasley over 125 yards.
I would not be surprised at all if they decide to put Davis in a Knox role. Like when they put him like as an H-back off the line, when they put Knox in that role, why not? Who are you going to cover? Who's going to cover him?
Well, they've been doing that. You see Davis out there and you know,
in the pistol,
when they do their pistol. So, you know, we'll see what adjustments Dable has this week offensively. You know, that's going to, you know, create mismatches and make plays for the offense to score points. So, you know, we'll have to see. But I'll say Bills win 29-27.
29-27. I love it.
29-27. Your boy Tyler Bass hits a 50+ yard field goal to win the game.
Nice. Well, I will say that due to my third quarter explosion, that the Buffalo Bills they'll win this one 40-28. I think that the Rams might jump out of the gate early, even though and shock the Bills a little bit, even though it's always talked about. We talked about earlier, West Coast teams coming to the East Coast to play the 10 a.m. game. I think they're probably gonna come out on the Bills a little bit early, because I think the Bills are going to be taken aback by the cohesiveness of the offense of the Rams, and you know, they'll be able to move the ball. So I mean, you know, after a week out, Milano and Edmonds, they're going to have to, you know, knock a little bit of rust off, not a lot, just a little bit of rust off, and I think the Bills win 40-28.
40-28, Mario.
Yeah.
You're making your predictions the last 2 weeks modest.
Modest.
You only said 20 points the last 2 weeks. You said 20 and then 21.
This Kool-Aid is good.
Kool-Aid must be good. I'm feeling it. I got the Bills winning this one, 34-27. I think that Bills offense, they're going to be humming. I don't predict a third quarter explosion quite like Mario, but I do think that I wouldn't say 21 points. That's crazy. That's so hard to put up 21 points in a quarter.
Well, the one thing we haven't talked about, Clayton, is that this special teams unit for a couple weeks now has always just been right there. I mean, it's that could be one of the turning point. They get the ball at the second half. They march down. They have one of those drives, and then they have a special teams or a pick or something. Because Goff, it was mentioned in the chat. I can't remember who said it, but it said I think it was Tony B. He said, "Listen, every time Goff plays a top level defense, he ends up having he gets pick happy. You know what I mean? So that could be one of the things where Trey White or Levi or Teron or anybody Hyde Poyer steps in front of one and takes it back. Who knows?
How about if Levi Wallace got a pick six this week and made a whole lot of Bills content creators eat a bunch of crow?
He did that last year for Pittsburgh. Remember, he had that pick in the end zone. He played a heck of a game in Pittsburgh when people wanted to write him off. So, I feel for the kid. I have a lot of faith in the kid. I really like Levi Wallace, but he has had times where he has struggled, and that's we have to admit that. We have to say what has happened. So,
let's not forget what's been the mainstay of this Bills team has the pass defense. It's just that defense in the whole. So I don't really. I mean, once again, we look at it, how high-powered this Rams is. We're not looking at how high-powered our defense is. Our defense is prone to, shut defense, high-powered offenses down. You know what I mean? So I just don't see where. I mean, they do a phenomenal job in that pass defense to where they're gonna isolate guys and take away bracket coverage. Goff has to guess right. There's going to be some pressure heading his way. So I mean, this game is really all about respect. I'm just tired of everybody just, it's the Rams. We're going to see what the Bills do this week. And then they beat the Rams, right? And then when, it's the Raiders, they play the Raiders next week. It's the Bills. We're just going to see what they do against the Raiders. They going to keep going through that. Next year, the Bills will be 7-0, 6-1, and it's like Rodney Dangerfield, man. He still don't get no respect. So after tomorrow, and Josh still gonna have 300 yards right away. After tomorrow, I mean, we just give the Bills their proper respect, man. And NFL, y'all don't notice because it can't get worse. It can only get better. So can everybody stay healthy? It can only get better. So. I can't wait for tomorrow.
It's going to be an exciting
front and center. I'll be there front and center to see the big old banner fly across. Shout out to Joey V and, everybody that helped out with that thing. I can't wait to have the fans in the stands. Hopefully by Kansas City Chiefs, hopefully they'll be able to have some fans there. And that's just going to take the team to a whole nother level.
Yeah,
absolutely.
It's I don't think I could have said it any better, Mookie, because the Bills having all of this success, it kind of sucks that the fans can't be in attendance. And then you have teams like the Miami Dolphins who allow 13,000 people to come into a stadium and can only sell 11,000 tickets, half of which go to Bills fans. So yeah, some places aren't as opportunistic with being allowed to go into the stadiums, and I can promise you that if they're letting people come in for that Kansas City showdown, even on a Thursday night, I'll be in attendance. I'll be there.
Now, I just want to say, I think because I think we're at that point. But listen, we're talking positive about the Bills. We're saying positive things. We all predicted the Bills will win. I just want to really quick pick your guys' brains. The flip side of this coin is if the Bills happen to lose. I'm just saying, if the Bills happen to lose this game to the Rams, what is the one salvation you would say? Okay, they're 2-1, but this loss wasn't a bad one. You know what I mean? Because no one wants to lose. I understand that. But what is the one salvation you could have that, okay, this was not a bad one?
If they were able to get out of that game, and I'm not even going to throw that stupid ass excuse saying that it was competitive. I don't want to see them see them lose and say, oh, well, at least it was competitive. No, this is a game where the Bills must be competitive. If they're not competitive and the Rams go in there and beat the brakes off of them, and then there's no salvations to be had from that game, then obviously, the story's different. But if they lose this game and it's tight and it's competitive and it's within a possession, and they just so happen to lose it, similar to how they lost the Baltimore game last year.
Yep.
I think the one thing that we'll be able to take away from this game is Josh Allen having a solid day despite the Bills losing. It's Josh Allen being able to lead his team. Because I feel like if the Bills do end up losing, it's going to be due to an unopportunistic mistake from Josh Allen. I think that's the only scenario where I could see the Bills losing is setting up that potent offense in favorable positions on the field to have short fields and drive down the field and convert those into points. I think that if the Bills lose the game, that's the area in which they lost it. So I honestly don't know. I honestly expect Josh Allen to have a solid game, but as long as he's not turning the football over, I think that's the salvation we could take from it, is that if the Bills lose and Josh Allen has a good day and it wasn't because of his turnovers, then I think he'll be able to find some salvation in that.
Yeah, I mean, you pretty much nailed it. I mean, if the Bills lose tomorrow, it's because they beat themselves, period. I mean, some turnovers may play a factor because, you can't turn the ball over no matter what. But, at the end of the day, this team is well put together than anyone. So we all look at Levi Wallace in a bad sense, but guess what? He was the starter all last year. The Bills was 10-6, and out of those 6 losses, I mean, they was under a touchdown or less still. I mean? So, I still like those chances, and this gives us our best look to say, to prepare against teams like Kansas City and the Raiders and stuff like that. This is really where we stand as a defense going forward. So if the Bills lose tomorrow, it's because they beat themselves, and maybe some turnovers, is pretty much that's always going to play a factor in it. But
because that's what we've seen. We've seen that too much. And I would say this: my one salvation of this game tomorrow, if the Buffalo Bills were happen to lose, if this game is as active as a cash register on Black Friday, where this is like a 56-50 game or something like that. And I know it's kind of crazy to say that with this Bills defense, but my point is this: I'm not worried about LA. I'm not worried about the Rams. I'm worried, can they keep offensive firepower with Baltimore? Can they keep offensive firepower with Kansas City? Because if they lose this game 56-50, I feel confident of them going in and dethroning the AFC champions. That's the salvation. If they go into and lose this game 20-16, I'm not going to have that confidence that they can match the firepower of Kansas City. So that's why I asked that question, to get the other side of it, because we're all very confident as Bills fans in the Facebook and in the YouTube. These guys are flying off, and I love what they're providing. But I need to see that if the result you tell me tomorrow is going to be a loss by the Bills, I need to see them ring that thing up like a cash register and have this offense clicking on all cylinders.
So what you're saying is, if they lose tomorrow, you want it to be because of the defense. I think that's what we all just said. I think that's loosely what we all just said.
Because we've seen the defense save them so many times. You know what I mean?
Right. Yep.
I mean, they beat themselves, whether it's on the offensive end or the defensive end. They lose the game is because they beat themselves. I don't see. I mean, they have players. Every team has players, but I just think that the way the continuity is defensively, the way this team is put together right now, they're clicking on cylinders that a lot of teams aren't, and that's what's really winning the ball games right now. I mean, that continuity, like you look at it, when Miami took the lead, the Bills got aggressive. That's what I wanted to see. They went straight bombs, deep balls. You know what I mean? Let's get this out the way right now. Let's be aggressive. Let's go to our go-to guy. Let's create that mismatch and let's dial it up. You know what I mean? So, and to put the nail in the coffin, they were still in aggressive mode, hitting John Brown deep. So hopefully that can continue, because Jalen Ramsey is going to provide those one-on-one matchups. We have to, the Bills just have to guess right on when, they get that one-on-one matchup with Ramsey, Diggs, Brown, that matchup. Don't be surprised if the matchup becomes John Brown and Ramsey one-on-one. and Ramsey lose that battle. Okay, so it's all about Josh and how he recognizes things and those protections, which is key tomorrow, and him being accurate.
Man. You just reminded me, and I think it's very fitting that it comes to the end of the show, because it's Josh Allen going up against Jalen Ramsey again. And I don't think this would come at any other perfect time in Josh Allen's career for the second time for him to face off against Jalen Ramsey, because he made the comments he made when the Bills drafted Josh Allen. And at that time, he was on the runner-ups in the AFC, the Jaguars, after they had their one-year wonder with Blake Bortles in the AFC Championship game. So he was on his high horse when he said that, and he has kind of backpedaled. That's kind of the coach speak. But to be quite honest with you, Jalen could go all in on him now that he has his contract. But really, I'm interested to see how Josh Allen carries this game, because you can sit there with reporters and tell them, oh, it doesn't matter. Oh, it's a couple years. You can say and sugarcoat whatever you're feeling inside and bury it deep down until you put on your helmet and pads on Sunday and you're staring across the line at, hey, that dude called you trash 3 years ago, and here you are lighting up NFL defenses with nobody. And I don't mean when I say nobody, I don't just mean like, oh yeah, there was a couple of guys. No, I mean nobody thought he was going to do that kind of shit. Nobody.
No.
Nobody thought that he was capable of doing something like if they gave him any kind of credit of being capable to do it, he'd be like, oh well, maybe one day, but I doubt it. But anyways, it's
I did.
Including the three of us.
I kind of did. I mean, you got to know what your player is at that point and know how to use it. I think they did a good job on doing that against Jacksonville 2 years ago when he did call him trash. And it's all about trash talking. And somebody calls you trash, what do? You go out and prove yourself to say, you got to eat those words. And one thing I can say about Jalen Ramsey being an ultimate pro, and maybe you can say he's matured a little bit, he kind of shied away from me giving him his props job. You know what I mean? So Big John Roro, from the Associated Press, was asking Josh, 3-4 times in the Zoom meetings this week about how did he feel about that. He even asked Sean McVay, Jive told on Ramsey, did you know that Josh Allen and Ramsey had beef since 2018 in Jacksonville? He's like, no, I didn't know that. So it's just like, I think now the respect levels are there. But, the competitive in both of those guys are still going to create some trash talk. You know what I mean? So once again, you got Jalen Ramsey and Josh part 2 or 3. And see who's going to win this one. And they know what Josh can do. He almost had 100 yards against Jacksonville that game. So now the cannon's unleashed. So pick your poison.
Yeah, he's got a bazooka. He's got a bazooka right there on his right arm. So, yeah, man, it's going to be an exciting showdown tomorrow. I hope it's some fireworks, and I hope it's ringing up like a cash register, like Mario says. I really hope it is, because it's been a while since we've seen an offense like this, an offense that is, I don't know, modern, that can run down the field, that can put up points, that isn't afraid to try something different. And, I give Brian Daboll all sorts of criticism, and I have for probably about 2 years now. But I've changed my tone a lot about Brian Daboll because we're seeing what the offense can do with correct personnel. Should the stars have to align for your personnel to work? Not necessarily, but it has for him, and he's making it work. So it's definitely a pleasant sight to see.
The one thing that I will worry about, and I'm sorry, I keep putting quarters in the machine just to keep talking about this. If the Buffalo Bills happen to, and Joe even said it when he was on it earlier, he said they're going to run the ball. Singletary's going to have a big day. If the Buffalo Bills try to play just off of Clayton's point, a ball control clock game, that should clue you in, at least for me, that this defense, Milano and Edmonds, aren't at 100% yet coming back from the injury, because they want to keep them off the field as much as possible and avoid the cash register. You know what I mean? So they're not flying around the field. So if they end up trying to a little bit slower tempo, I think that's because this defense, either they're worried about Wallace or the injuries to Milano and Edmonds aren't there yet. So for me, that's the only thing I would take when watching the game tomorrow. If you guys see the Buffalo Bills start to do that, that would be my thought process in that. So
no slow tempo.
I'm just saying, Mookie, don't take the knife out on me. I'm just putting out.
You've been doing a good job up until this point, man. You went to the last 2 minutes.
Mookie's gonna hang up the phone call and go, I can't believe this dude just said that. I gotta try to go to sleep now after what this dude just said.
Put a couple of quarters in a meter to get cut. Wait.
Oh, it's amazing.
But, I mean, they got it. I mean, once again, it hasn't been no preseason. It hasn't been no OTAs. Me as an offensive coordinator, I'm testing defense out and see how conditioned these guys are. Yes, it is week 3. You got to play yourself in shape. We know these guys don't really play preseason, but, with all this going on, how much in sync and in shape these guys are. I'm trying to run y'all asses off the field. I'm going to run you right off the field with this tempo. Now, we know that Jalen Ramsey a dog, but who else out there? Randall, you're hurt. My man Jordan Fuller, I love you, from DBU in Ohio State. I love you. But, I mean, you're a rookie. You know what I mean? So you're going to get tested out there. And they're going to get tested other than Jalen Ramsey. They're going to get tested out there. That linebacker core is going to get tested. We just got to make sure that those guys can give Josh time to make plays. That's it. So no Zach Moss. We see Joshy Boucher tomorrow. All right. Hopefully, you just got to hold on to the football. All right. Gonna see Joshy Boucher. It's gonna be Motor and Joshy Boucher in the run game tomorrow.
Well, with that, it's getting late. I think there's some fights some people want to watch.
Right.
So with that, Mario, can you tell all the folks in the hashtag Whole Front Nation, whoever it may be, all the people out there, what you guys have going on over there at hashtag sports?
Well, you know what? Paul and I both have family conflicts tomorrow, so we're going to try to get – Paul's going to be doing a halftime show tomorrow. So that's going to be a new thing for hashtag. I'm going to try to get a post game in, but obviously family obligations come first for me, and I do apologize for that. But coming up, not this week, but next week is we put it out on our live feed for our post game. I said if we got over 150 likes on the one video, I was going through a table. And then someone said, hey, if we get to 175, you have to shotgun a White Claw. And I got to do that now. And then if we got to 200, right, I have to wear my Star jersey while doing those 2 acts now. So unfortunately, for next week, you're going to see me wear a Star jersey, shotgun a White Claw, and then Paul is putting me through a table, which I just purchased today from Home Depot. So that will happen next week. But like I said, prior to that, Paul will be doing the halftime coverage of the Bills-Rams game tomorrow. Make sure you don't miss that. And I will try to do the post game. If it is anything, it's going to be a short one. But, yeah, that's what we got coming up next week. And we're going to have next week we debut our Friday film room. So that's going to be coming out soon.
Oh, yeah, I'm about to join you in the film room, man.
Come on in, Mook.
That's my thing right there.
You can come on in, Mookie.
How many light the table on fire?
I'm not Mick Foley, okay? I'm not wearing a flannel.
You gotta make this interesting. The table is okay. The shotgun is okay. Let's light it on fire.
I'm already committing 3 sins. I hate tables. I hate people that go through tables, number 1. Number 2, it's my Star jersey for crying out loud. And 3, White Claw is just seltzer. It's disgusting. I can't drink those. So
throw it back, baby. White Claw people, throw it back.
I'm not introducing fire into this equation.
Hey, it's all right. We'll talk off screen, and I'm sure we'll ring.
All right, sounds good. All right, take it easy.
Hey, every Sunday, you can check us out on the Waffle Sports Report on Power 96.5 FM. I will be at the game tomorrow. I'll probably be, going live from the field at halftime. Just give you a quick, war report on that. You can check me on Waffle Sports on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter, and also Bills World.
All right. And be sure to follow the Cold Front Report on Instagram and Twitter, and like us on Facebook. That's at Cold Front Report on Twitter, at Cold Front Report _ Bills News on Instagram, and like our Facebook page. That's Cold Front Report / Buffalo Bills News for the most engaging Bills content you can find on any social media platform. Fellas, thank you guys for joining me. Thank you all for watching. I hope you all have a wonderful evening. Stay safe, stay healthy, enjoy the game tomorrow, and hey, go Bills.
Go Bills.